Hello and welcome to episode 11. Today I'll be addressing a very old philosophical question which asks, if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Now you can look at this in two different ways, a philosophical standpoint and a scientific standpoint. A philosopher might argue that the definition of making a sound, using air quotes right now, is that an object produces a sound, then I, as the observer, am able to hear it. Therefore, that is a sound. However, this is a physics podcast, so let's see what we have to say. First, we have to define the sound, what it is, and how we produce it and perceive it. What we typically call a sound is basically a longitudinal wave. Means the direction of propagation of the wave is parallel to displacement of the medium. Probably means nothing to you, but it is important for how I phrase my sentences. Now, what you really need to understand is you can imagine a plastic spring that you may have played with as a small child. Now, set that spring up horizontally on a table, perhaps. Hold it fixed from one end and rapidly stretch and compress the other. So, if you're good at imagining, or you actually have one of these and you can try yourself, when you quickly compress and decompress the springs, you're going to have some areas where the spring compresses itself and other areas where it extends itself to try to maintain or try to get back to that equilibrium that you pulled it from initially. So sound works very similarly. When a sound is produced, you are basically compressing air molecules together, and then a domino effect forms. So you compressed some air molecules, so in another part of the atmosphere, there's going to be air molecules that are spread out, of less molecule present in that specific area, which creates a compression zone in the next area, and so on. So you end up with areas of high concentration of molecules, called compression, and areas of low air molecule concentration, called rarefactions. They're usually created with pressure differences. Now, you don't really have to worry about that, but the most important thing, that sound needs a medium to transfer this energy. So it needs like a space where there are molecules around it in order to transfer this. Once that sound wave reaches our ears, the bones in our ears basically soak in all of that energy with the help of the eardrum in order to interpret those sounds. Now, as humans, our hearing usually ranges from 20 to 20,000 hertz, which is a measure of frequency, but you can think of it maybe as the speed. Don't worry too much about it. Now, there are sounds that exist beyond this range. For example, ultrasound, if you ever heard of that. And there's also infrasound, which is lower than our frequency. You can't hear them, but they're still there, so kind of illogical to say that because you can't hear something, that means it's not there. It's still being emitted. In conclusion, if a tree falls in the forest where no one is around to hear it, it does make a sound. Thank you for listening. Stay safe.